Hey you guys, what's going on? This is Adam Everett Miller with AETuts.com, and today we are going to be just discussing a very basic style, but just something that might be helpful for you. I know it's not going to be a crazy advanced tutorial, but it'll at least be fun. I was pretty much just going through all these other tutorials people are sending me, and they're good, but I feel the need to record one myself because it's just been a while. With that in mind, I will say if you haven't done it, we're constantly looking for fresh creative stuff, obviously. And so if you're not familiar with the way the site works, you too can become an author. It's pretty cool like that. Not a lot of sites out there like this that allow you to be the content. So anyway, just come down, go to the main page, and then come down here to find out more and read through it. If you have an idea worth sharing, preferably worth sharing, then check that out, and we'd love to see what you have to share. Anyway, I recently got a project, and I'm actually in the middle of it right now. I got 50 still photographs and a couple taglines, and they just said, hey, put together this like 2-minute animation. So I'm sitting here trying to come up with different things that I can just do with stills. And I know I can animate the stills as far as like, trying to recreate parallax and all this sort of stuff, but I only have like a week to work on it. So this was just one of the ideas that I had. Okay, and so what you can see here is you got a picture kind of bouncing up and then these lines shooting out of it, and then from the lines are birthed more photos blooming into existence. And so yeah, it's not overly complex, and you're thinking, oh, that's not hard, that's pretty easy to do. And you're right, it is. I just kind of thought maybe if you are in a pickle and need a quick like refresher idea, maybe this could help you. But kind of what I wanted to focus on a little bit more was just, I noticed that just a brochure that I was given, it had kind of this stretching out, well, I'm going to call it go-go gadget text, because where it should stop there, it continues to kind of almost bleed down. And I saw this in something that they gave me, and I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Can I animate that? Would I create a solid? What would I do? So in trying to figure that out, I figured I would just share kind of the method I went about animating this, and just give you a random idea. So hope you don't mind. If you don't want to do it, don't watch the tutorial. If you want to, let's go. All right, here it is. Project, new composition. 10 seconds is great, and I'm just going to I'm just going to grab a couple pictures and drop them in there. Let's go ahead and make them 3D, and we'll scale them down. Okay, I'm just going to create a new camera really quick just so that I can back up and see what I am looking at. I'm just going to position these guys differently. Put one up there, put one right there. I mean, this is pretty much exactly how I had done it in the end video, but okay, so from here, what we want to do, I'm going to move it in a little bit closer just so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so we want this picture to bounce up, and then from it, a line will come over and birth this picture. So we'll start with this guy and hit scale, scales up. Okay, we'll keyframe it, bring it back here, and go to 0. Okay, so now it's going to bounce up. Notice that you might know this, but just wherever the anchor point is, that is where it's going to scale. So if this one, you can hold down Y and drag it, but if I were to then scale this one, since the anchor point's right there, it's going to scale from that point. I'm sure you know this, I'm just saying. If it's not centered, you might want to do so. Okay, so that's good, and then let's wait for a second, wait for another second, and then let's take this one and let's do the same thing. We'll scale it from 0 here. Okay, so now we have scale 1 and then scale 2. Another really cool thing, I don't know if you guys have seen this tutorial, if you have to be a premium member, and you can find the same information anywhere, but the 12 basic principles of animation, you can just search for it on the site here. Really cool. Brian Clark did a good job just kind of walking through and giving a visual example of these different things, just these different principles. And it challenged me quite a bit. I was like, wow, that's just, it's fun. I mean, I used a lot of them before, but just to kind of put a name with what we're doing, just things like squash and stretch and this and that, not this and that is what I'm saying, but just some of those just basic principles were really, really handy. For example, one of them was just when you go to scale up, you know, over scale it a little bit, like shoot it over, and then kind of just to give it a little bit more bounciness, a little bit, maybe a little bit more of a cartooniness. Don't just go from 0 to 100, but instead have it kind of bounce into place by scaling over 100%, under 100%, and then back to 100%. Now that's not grand, but if we were to drag it in and then ease it, it might look a little bit nicer. You know, just something like that. It really does add a nice element and will make your animations look a lot cleaner. Okay, so with that said, we'll just actually move this guy over. We'll do the same thing here real quick. Okay, scaling it up a little bit more. Don't want to overlap too far. And then we'll scale it down a bit. All right, and this should be good. Okay, and we'll take a quick look at that really fast. Bounce in and bounce in. All right. All right, so the next thing was the beam that was created. Well, I just gave it away. I was thinking, do I want to create a solid to have it go across? Basically, I just you create your new solid, but then you apply beam, and beam as of right now looks like a really crappy lightsaber. And I think this is what a lot of people use for their light. I've never done a lightsaber effect. That's like what everyone starts with After Effects and doing, like Star Wars, cheesy Star Wars effects, but never did it. Okay, so beam right now it's at 25% length. We'd make it all the way to the 100. We're not actually going to be growing it because it grows from the center out. We want to have it at one start point and go to the end. So I think that's actually the end point, and then this is the start point. Okay, so start point we'll set there. Let's length, make it the entirety. Sorry. Did you know that you can push the middle mouse button? It's nice, but then it ends up screwing up. If you hold it down and then you can drag, just like space and drag. I think I said that last tutorial I did, but okay, so let's just make it black first. Let's go black and then black. Okay, and then we'll make it 15 just so it's pretty thick, and then let's kill the softness so it's a nice solid line. Saving that quick. Okay, what we want to do is, remember how it bounces from the center point, we want to make sure that this is pretty well centered. So if I click on picture number 1, okay, I can see that my line is not right where the anchor point is. So let's just grab it, grab beam, and it was right about there. Okay, and this is fine. It doesn't have to be exact with this guy for right now. But we want it to, as soon as this one's born, we want it to stretch down there and give birth to that one. So we'll start where it ends, which is there, start endpoint, keyframe it, back it up, and then we'll just move it right to there. Okay, so now it's going to give birth, shoot out, and then give birth. Okay, cool. This is the basic principle. I just repeated that over and over again. We would obviously drag, well, we want to make that 3D, which would then alter what I just did. Sorry. Picture 1, making sure it's lined up. Okay. Camera, beam, a little bit higher. Okay. We'd want to make sure that our beam is below both of the photographs, just so that it will create a nice, it'll go behind it so it's not in front, obviously. That's what we would be. Okay, so that's all that, and if you want and you need to, there's an idea, and I would just kind of kill the beam before the picture pops on. All right, so that's the first part, and let's see, we are doing really well. All right, moving to the second part, these drawn on this text here. With this, I did a lot of masking, so don't worry so much about that. But essentially, this bleeding line, I wanted to continue my text. So what I did was I actually created a good chunk of the alphabet. I might actually create a full bundle of these to either give as a premium membership, or maybe I'll just put them over on Video Hive or something like that. But basically, I took, like, for example, just A here. I took the letter A solo, and I did it with, since I'm doing a lot of this text, I wanted to be able to reuse these letters, not have to like do each word differently. So I just made a 10-second long comp, and I have it, and it just kind of grows. Well, let me back this up, shut it off, and I'll show you what I did. I'm using Helvetica Bold just because it's a very boxy type. But for A, I'll just hit A and Let's make it like 200. Okay. And what you can do is, I wanted to do it small in a big comp just in case I stretch it out. With this guy, I want to take it and then let's go up to layer, and you can hit auto trace. And what auto trace is going to do is making sure it's set to alpha, because it's going to look at it compared to alpha. I'm actually going to zoom in just so we can see this preview a little bit better. All right, layer, auto trace. Okay, it's going to look at alpha. So and we want threshold to be absolutely. I mean, auto trace can do a really crappy job of kind of keying out. I mean, it basically just looks for the difference from one pixel to the next and kind of traces it. Similar to rotoscope, except I don't know. This is just kind of a crappier version of a rotobrush rather. But since it's just straight alpha and black, we can have the tolerance be 100%. Tolerance in pixels is 4. Minimum area, if you were to make this like 0, oops, sorry. Let me back that up. Layer, auto trace. If you were to make this something more, this basically, all these are determining how specific this is going to be tracing, and so we'll just stick with 10. Now you notice that the preview is pretty crappy here, and so it's like, oh, you're going to sit here and try to fix it forever. Well, don't worry about it. Sometimes the preview isn't exact. It's just a preview. It's not an exact interpretation of what it's going to do. And so you can see here that bring up the masks. It actually does a. Let me turn them on. It actually does a pretty good job of tracing the paths. So now that we have these traced, I can just take both of them and copy them, and let's create a new solid. I just want to start from scratch here and make it black. All right, make it comp size, we're good. And then let's go ahead and paste those right on top of there. I'm going to get rid of the thing, what I just auto traced, and cool, we're good. At some point, you might get where like this is going to get a little distorted, or like it might have some funky, like that kind of stuff where it's not a perfect angle. At that point, what you can do is you could obviously mix with the handlebars, but you can also go to this tool right here, and if you just click it, it's just going to even it out and make sure that it's direct line. Now, obviously, if you're dealing with a D or an O or something, like you can see here a little bit, like there's a little bit of a wave going on. It's not perfect, so just by clicking that, it's going to make it uniform. If you want to go through and do that, not super important. But yeah, you can see that it's pretty similar to the A, not 100%, but as good as it needs to be. And then what I did was basically just took the mask and hit M, keyframe it, and get rid of the A for now. Moved it to the end of the comp, and then took my path and, let's see, grabbed an arrow, just selected that, holding down Shift. I just dragged it out. Now, you might want to actually leave your A on just so that you can make sure that the angle stays the same, but you get the basic idea. So now from 5 seconds in to 10 seconds in, it is going to kind of stretch out. Well, then when we go back to our other comp, if we are typing, you know, my name, Adam, we'll scale it down. We'll make it 100. Okay. We can go in and I'll make it 3D. I can actually drop in my comp that I just created, my A comp, okay, make it 3D as well. And then scaling it to 50%. I could drop it in here and do it. Now you're saying, why did you do each individual letter? I mean, I could technically write the whole word out, auto trace the whole thing, and then scale that, and that totally might work. If you want to reuse that A over and over again, which I've been reusing a lot of these letters, that's helpful. I'm hoping this is a cool thing for you guys. I'm not sure if it's going to be or not. Might be totally worthless, and why are you even watching this tutorial? But this is just an animation idea. I actually might even just make this a quick tip, even though it's not a quick tip, but it's kind of almost at the caliber of a quick tip. But yeah, that's the idea. As far as the camera, I had it sideways. I had it kind of at like an angle, kind of like that, and then I had turned on the depth of field, and I was doing some zooming in this main one. But that's essentially it. You can then reverse it, and instead of having the text grow out, it can kind of come in. And then additionally, you can have it. All I did was I just matched it up right there. You can actually see a little line, so it's not flawless, but you can actually have two texts, like you can have an R and a D and position them above each other and have one bleed into the other, and that would totally work. But you can see from this, you can grow words and have it almost like be born and then bleed out into more words. It's almost just kind of like a dripping go-go gadgety sort of effect. So anyway, that's the quick tip tutorial thought idea. I hope you guys enjoyed it, maybe gleaned something, just a little idea as far as something you could maybe do in the future if you're in a bind and need a quick result. So alright guys, this is Adam, ever familiar with ATUTS. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.